P works here. So a while ago, I did a video called the Murder Fruit, in that I suggested that Northern Commander of the Revolutionary Army, Karasu, had a different type of subclass of Zoan fruit. I suggested that it is a sort of animal collective Zoan, a group Zoan. And I gave examples of how that could be a larger part in the story. Now I come to you today with a very similar proposal for a new subclass of Zoan that I've noticed in the story. Okay, so do you remember Baron Tomago? He is a knight-ranked member of the Big Mom Pirates, right? He has the power of the egg fruit. Now, in saying the name of that fruit, which is a Zoan, by the way, it was confirmed quite recently that that was a Zoan fruit. What does that tell you? It's very perplexing that it's called the egg fruit and not the chicken fruit, because we know that he turns into a chicken ultimately. So here's the thing. I think it's called the egg fruit because it's denotating a different subclass of Zoan. That subclass being a life cycle Zoan or a metamorphosis Zoan. So what does Baron Tomago do? Well, from what we've seen, he's always an egg, right? His body is perpetually in an egg state. Then he becomes broken. That body dies. Yolk is released. That yolk then turns into a chick, a juvenile chicken, right? Then that body too, when damaged, breaks like an egg. Yolk is released. And then that yolk transforms into the next stage, which is a full-grown rooster. Then, when that full-grown rooster's body is broken like an egg, he reverts back into a Eggman again. So you have a life cycle of death and rebirth going on with Tomago. He starts off not even as a baby, but as a symbol of life. Then he turns into a child variant of the animal, and then he turns into the adult, only to turn into the start of life again, which is an egg. With that being said, do we have any other examples like this currently? Well, there is one guy.
I'm finished! Finally, I'm a beautiful butterfly!
That character being Ippoita of the Whitebeard Pirates. He is a commander of the Whitebeard Pirates. As we see in Marineford, he has his own ship with his own Jolly Roger. What's interesting about him is that he's a bit of an old boy because he was rolling with Whitebeard way back in the day when Odin was recruited, because we see him when Whitebeard and the boys crash land in Wano, right? So with that being said, it's always depicted that he's like in some sort of weird state of transformation or like partial transformation, because we often see him with like these weird bulbous bits on his body. And the only time we've seen him in a sort of even semi-complete state of transformation is like a small scene during Marineford. So the idea from his Jolly Roger and the weird sort of states of half transformation that we see him in, he is most likely some sort of caterpillar man, or at the very least a worm or a larva man. Because the term worm is kind of a catch-all term, because in various bits of media, one of my favorites being Monster Rancher or Monster Farm on the PlayStation 1, there was a monster called Worm, and he turned into a beetle. That's what his whole thing was. So there are a lot of avenues that Ippoita can go down if he's indeed one of these metamorphosis zones. So he could be any type of bug, actually, that starts off as a worm. Another movie comes to mind, Bug's Life, where the caterpillar Heimlich transforms into a butterfly, a comically fat butterfly, by the end of the movie. With a metamorphosis Zoan or a life cycle Zoan, it's not so much about the power of one form in particular. It's about meeting the conditions to then transform and constantly level up to your higher and higher forms, and then resetting yourself. I think Tomago and Ippoita are both members of this subcategory of Zoan fruit. I think this is a very powerful subcategory because you can gain a lot of strength very quickly. And Ippoita might be putting on airs to what he can actually do, because I can't imagine a commander of the Whitebeard pirates being simply just a caterpillar. That could be the case, and he could have some sort of super eating powers or whatnot, but I just don't think that's the case, seeing as how multiple times in various other pieces of media, caterpillars or worms don't stay caterpillars and worms. They transform into a butterfly, a moth, a beetle, or some sort of other powerful insectoid creature. It's not about one form with these guys. It's a multitude of forms. And the challenge is meeting the requirements to get to that higher state of life. So with that being said, are there any other examples currently? Not at the moment, but I would keep my eyes peeled for any other examples or any other guys that look weird, because Tomago is too unique to be by himself. And seeing as how he is indeed a Zoan and not a Paramecia, I could very well see there being more guys like him. Ippoita, for example. So we'll have to wait and see. But with that being said, that's all I have for you today. Thank you all for watching. Oh, almost forgot. If you are so inclined, please join my Discord, the Digital Burrow. We talk about One Piece there and a bunch of video game stuff and just nerd stuff in general. So if you feel inclined, come on down. And with that being said, for real, thank you for watching, and I'll see you next time. If you like stuff like this, please feel free to check out my YouTube channel, PollyP Works. And if you like what you see, I would appreciate your subscription. Thank you so much. See you next time.